Alright boys, welcome back to another JJDL video. This time we have week 3 versus the Kippy. Last week, week 2, which you can check out probably in the top right hand corner if I do not forget. We faced Leo, and unfortunately we got out prepped and we fell to 0-2. We're in a little bit of a slump, and I hope to get out of it now. And to get out of it, I decided last season, BBR, I made some transactions and things turned out a little bit better. So why not do the same thing? I don't like the team. A couple things that I don't like about it are the fact that it is extremely slow. I guess that's really the only thing I don't like about it. So I made some transactions. I might make a video on it, I might not, but we dropped Mew, Iron Jugulus, Orthworm, and Wigglytuff Terra. And in return, we picked up Iron Boulder, Skarmory, and Frostlass. Frostlass and Boulder help us with the speed problem that we have. We did lose a Dark type, which is a little bit unfortunate versus Psychic types, but I think we can manage. And then Skarmory gives us a real Dragon Resist. So honestly, overall, I like the team a lot better now. I think I'm going to be a lot more comfortable with it. And there is no better time to get Iron Boulder than the matchup where we face Gouging Fire. That's right. If you know, Oppo drafted Gouging Fire, didn't want it anymore after week 1. He compared it to Terra Raging Bolt. Don't know how he thought he was getting around that one, but he did that and he didn't like it. He traded it to Stakippy for Terapagos. So now Stakippy has Gouging Fire. Speaking of Stakippy's team though, he's got Gouging Fire, Heatran, Landorus, Hammerot, Terra Azelf, Torkoal, Venusaur, Hatterene, and Terra Arboliva. So this seems a little bit scary. You see our new team on the screen right now, but no matter what, this is the best Boulder matchup I could imagine. He does not have a Rock Resist. He does not really have a good way to deal with Iron Boulder at all. And we're very much so going to be playing into that this week. As far as the Pokemon I think he's going to bring, I think it's pretty cut and dry. I think Gouging Fire does well. We don't really have great resist to it. We can kind of switch around it. Blastoise does alright, and we have Iron Hands, which is obviously a very good physical wall. Raging Bolt can also kind of take it on depending on what Terra type we go. So we have a little bit of counterplay, but Gouging Fire is probably the best Pokemon in this matchup. Heatran, I think we have too much for. I don't really ever see it coming. Landorus, very scary into my team. We don't have great Earth Power resist, and the one that we do have in Skarmory doesn't appreciate Weather Ball. Hammerot, my team doesn't like spikes, and he can definitely take advantage of that. Terra Azelf is interesting, because out of all Pokemon, I think Terra Azelf could potentially do the best, but I think he has to bring a creative set that I possibly couldn't think of. He could just be Plot and put us in a little bit of a tricky spot. Plot Mystical Fire with Terra Blast, maybe Grass, maybe Thunderbolt, maybe Fire Blast. There's a lot of different options and creativity open for Azelf right now. Torkoal has to come. I think Sun has to come in this matchup, and on top of that, I think Venusaur comes. We don't have great Venusaur counterplay. It stretches our hands a little bit thin, because if we throw an AV on hands, it does have good counterplay to Venusaur, but also hands wants to check Gouging Fire, so he kind of has to figure out what our hands is doing and then play accordingly. Hatterene can come, but I under prepped for it. I'll be honest, I don't really expect it. I definitely don't think Trick Room comes. Shout out to Obo. I do think maybe something like Calm Mind could come, but it doesn't really make the most sense. And then Terra Arboliva could come as a potential Ursaluna Blood Moon check, because he doesn't have great Ursaluna Blood Moon counterplay either, but I'm not sure what type he would be to really get that. And I think just overall, there are better Pokemon. I think the 6 he brings are, in my opinion, pretty locked in with Gouging Fire, Torkoal, Venusaur, Hammerot, Terra Azelf, and then Landorus. We don't really have Landorus counterplay. As for the team we're bringing, we're starting off easy. We got Shoulder Day, Big Iron Boulder, and we're going to be a pretty simple set. We're going to be booster speed with enough speed to outspeed a timid Venusaur in the sun, which is a crazy calc. Essentially, that means that there is nothing on his team that we cannot outspeed, whether it be Scarf, whether it be Chlorophyll in the sun. We should pretty much outspeed literally everything. On top of that, this is a great win con, so we're going to be Swords Dance, Mighty Cleave is unresisted, Zen Headbutt to be able to OHKO the Venusaur, and then we have Close Combat for Hammerot as well as potentially Heatran. Our 8 HP and 8 defense allows us to live a Jolly Sucker Punch from the Hammerot after a round of rocks, then we put the rest into attack. It's not a super in-depth set, but I don't think it has to be. I think this is a really good Boulder matchup, one of the best I've ever seen, and I think the in-game is always to try to put him into a position where everything is in range of Iron Boulder, to where we can spam Mighty Cleave or Close Combat, and not even have to click Sword Stance, which I think, based on the few mocks that I did, shout out to Obo, I'm a complete liar, I did a couple mocks, I think we can get into a position where this Boulder can win the game. Next up, first of all, we're bringing Raging Bolt. We're bringing Terra Raging Bolt. We're going to be Terra Normal this week. I'll explain that in a second, but huge shout out to Amo. You might notice by our EV spread, we're 224 defense, max special defense with a calm nature and 32 speed. Huge shout out to Amo. I have to be special defense boosting for the plan that I have in this matchup, and for some reason, Raging Bolt has a lot of trouble ginning. It has to have 20 special attack IVs, I think, and I couldn't get it to gin properly, and it was always gonna be plus special attack on the sun. So Amel had an in-game one, and not only did he have an in-game one, he completely trained it up for me, gave it Terra Normal, named it everything. Massive shout out to Amel for this Raging Bolt, and I think it'll go crazy in this game based on the mocks. This Raging Bolt is actually going to guarantee be our lead. We have Volt Switch, we have Thunderbolt, we have Dragon Pulse, we have Weather Ball. Weather Ball is there because this is our special defensive check to the Venusaur. And we have Thunderbolt and Volt Switch because he doesn't have great electric resist, and the Dragon Pulse because we don't want to be Draco, because at -2 we actually get put in a couple of different bad situations, like letting the Gouging Fire set up, for instance, that we don't really want to find ourselves in. And you might be saying, John, why are you Terra Normal? Terra Water makes so much more sense. Terra Fairy makes so much more sense. There are so many different types that you could be. Why did you choose Normal? You may be wondering, John, why are you Terra Normal? There are so many better Terra types. Water for the Gouging Fire. You could be Fairy to prevent outrage spam. Yes, you're 100% true, correct, whatever you want to say. However, Venusaur gives us such a hard time. It was hard for me to slot Iron Hands in the AV role, which I did have for a little bit, and then slot this as the water Pokemon, water Terra type to check the Gouging Fire. Is very difficult for me to do that because the combination of 4 moves Venusaur can have and be Life Orb put us in a bad spot. Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain or Solar Beam, whatever it wants to be, Weather Ball, and Earth Power, impossible for me to switch into. I have no Pokemon on my team that resist those 4 options, and Venusaur, what I found, always got into a position to do way too much damage. So Star helped me cook up this set. Shout out to Star, he helped me cook up a couple different ones. We're special defense boosting, and we have the Terra Normal. And Terra Normal, what it does, it makes us not weak to anything, because our opponent shouldn't have any fighting coverage on their team. They don't have a fighting type on their team. We're just using and abusing Raging Bolt's extreme bulk rather than its typing. That way we can actually chew it up and we can catch him off guard with a potential Weather Ball. Shout out Oboe in the background, by the way. We have enough special defense to be special defense boosting. That way we can take on the Venusaur pretty well. We have speed 12 speed Heatran, and this Raging Bolt is so crucial for this matchup. It is a perfect lead. The only downside is if he leads Landorus, in which case we can just go hard into another Pokemon that we have I'll talk about a little bit later. I very much appreciate Amel for going through the trouble of helping me get this Raging Bolt, because this Pokemon is literally the most important Pokemon besides Iron Boulder on our team this week. Our next Pokemon is going to be Big Hands, Uncle Mike. He's done great for us this season. He needs to do that again this week. We're going to be a Fizz Def version of Iron Hands this week to try to take on the Gouging Fire, and we're Utility Umbrella, so that Flare Blitz in the sun doesn't quite hurt as much as it should. Shout out to Oboe for the idea. We originally had Citrus Berry per star, but I went with Utility Umbrella. I don't know. We're Fake Out to stall Sun turns, as well as get extra damage on the Gouging Fire, Drain Punch for recovery, Earthquake to hit that Gouging Fire, and then Ice Punch for the Lando, for the Venusaur, for a couple of different things. The set's pretty simple. We're just enough defense to take 2 Flare Blitz in the sun from an Adamant Gouging Fire. We don't get the Sun Boost, or he doesn't get the Sun Boost, but he still gets the Photosynthesis boost, so in the sun is still relevant, and then we went the rest into Attack Adamant. Uncle Mike's very important, and he has helped us a lot of times win in the in-game. Our opponent also, in general, doesn't enjoy Fake Out. His fast Pokemon are very frail, like Azelf, like Landorus doesn't enjoy Fake Out, so getting that damage on those Pokemon can be crucial. Stalling those Sun turns, very important. Uncle Mike, one of the most important members this week. Our team is very much so. It's hard to play without all the pieces we have. Our next Pokemon, very simple. I actually might change this set in a minute before the match. I'm not entirely sure. I was thinking about changing this Blastoise set to AV, but for the time being, we're Heavy Duty Boots, Rapid Spin, Jet, Flip Turn, and Earthquake. We're Jet for priority for like Azelf, Lando. Rapid Spin is here because Hammerot spikes do us dirty, and we do not want to deal with that. We have Flip Turn for momentum when things like Arboliva or Venusaur want to come in, and then Earthquake to hit the Gouging Fire. Right now we're just max Fizz Def. I couldn't find a set that I really liked with this, and it really never came into play ever in the mocks, so I don't know how important it is. It's just max Fizz Def to try to help with the Gouging Fire a little bit and get a little bit of damage off, but I was thinking about going AV since we're 4 attacks anyway to help take pressure off of the Landorus, so I don't know. This one, patent pending on this one. We'll see what happens. Next up, our opponent doesn't have an Ursaluna Blood Moon resist, so we're bringing Ursaluna Blood Moon. We are Moonlight, Hyper Voice, Blood Moon, as well as Earth Power. We had to be Earth Power to hit the Heatran. Hyper Voice plus Throat Spray to give us that special attack boost pretty much should net us a KO guaranteed. And then Blood Moon, he just doesn't have good normal resist. So Blood Moon in the Mox was really cool because we can switch this in on Torkoal pretty easily and kind of force a KO depending on what sets he does bring. He could be some sort of a Spadef Arboliva with a type to resist whatever we have, but even with that, this Pokemon goes crazy. We Hyper Voice into Blood Moon. It's very hard for me to not pick off a KO. We have enough speed to outspeed the Heatran if he has 12 speed. We can live an Adamant, Gouging Fire, Flare Blitz in the sun after a Spike, and then with the rest into Special Attack. Ursaluna is one of the main way that we push progress in this match, and I think I've been playing Ursaluna Blood Moon wrong. I think it's been so fun to prep with. I think I've just been very poor at executing what it needs to do. This week I'm going to try to be hyper aggressive. If we see the Torkoal, Ursaluna is going to come in and we're going to try to push some progress. And then lastly, we did not have a 6th Pokemon that did well in this matchup. There were some use cases for different things, like Frost Knights being fast enough to outspeed and revenge Lando, Wigglytuff prevented Outrage spam, but Skarmory is what we're going to go with, and we're going to be heavy duty boots with Sturdy. That way we can guarantee potentially get a Whirlwind off. I think that alone justifies Skarmory coming. It also gives us a resist to Earth Power, an immunity to Earth Power, so he has to think before clicking that. Does he get Weather Ball? Yes. Are we going to die to that? Absolutely. It is what it is, I guess. We have Roost, Whirlwind, Stealth Rock, and Body Press. Body Press does some big damage to a lot of different things. Whirlwind, super important to prevent setup on his team. And Rocks are fantastic into him because I don't think Gouging Fire is going to be boots. I don't think Torkoal is going to be boots. If they are, then fantastic. We learned that through getting Rocks up. So Rocks early would be nice, but it's not very likely unless he leads Landorus. We have enough speed to outspeed like a 24 speed Heatran, I think, and then we went the rest into defense to do body press damage. And that's going to be the team, guys. The main way we win this week is Mighty Cleave on Iron Boulder in the late game. Have to get everything in range of it. Other than that, it's just one of those matchups where I'm trying to not super overthink it. The sets that I overthought were the Iron Hands and the Raging Bolt, both of which I think do fantastic. But other than that, pretty straightforward. I am trying my best to bring home a win this week because I feel like I've been in a slump. I need this win. We're going to try to go 1-2, and then we're going to try to climb all the way back up. We're going to try to go 6-2, obviously, and win this championship. And it all starts now with these transactions, man. Hopefully Boulder can prove its worth in his first week here. Be sure to check out Skippy and all of the other JJDL coaches out down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off. And we're just using and abusing Raging Bolt's extreme bulk here in order to... Thank you for that.